Priorities. If I were to hand you a blank piece of paper and ask you to write down some of your priorities right now, I imagine your list would look a little something like this. And at a first glance, it looks like you've got your life pretty sorted, right? I mean, Mac Live, maintaining your relationships, a job for next year, and of course, you can't forget those Sevens tickets and what outfit you're going to wear. The perfect balance between work and play. But don't you think something is missing? What about happiness? And it's not to say that because happiness isn't listed as a priority that we don't want to be happy. Of course we want to be happy. But rather, we tend to view happiness as a goal instead of a priority. We believe that through achieving all of our priorities, we will then be happy. But this is where I believe we have failed. It should not be a goal that we are chasing after, but rather it should be a habit. We tend to see it as a goal that we are trying to reach in the future. But life is too short to be putting off happiness for tomorrow, for next year, or for 10 years' time. We are continuously trying to tick off all of our priorities to get in our chase for happiness. I'm here today to tell you about one of the most important mental shifts I've made, that being, I stopped chasing happiness and always making it my goal. Before telling you about this mental shift that I made, I want to tell you a story, just to set the scene. Once upon a time, there was a businessman who was in a small fishing village. As he was sitting on the beach, he watched a local fisherman row in his boat after having caught a few fish. He asked the fisherman how long it took him to catch the fish, and the fisherman said, only a short while. The businessman was astonished. He asked, well, why don't you spend more time, why don't you catch more fish? And the fisherman said, well, this is enough for my family and I. The businessman then asked, well, what do you do with the rest of your day? The fisherman responded and said, well, I wake up early in the morning, I go out, I catch a few fish, then I come back, I spend time with my children. In the afternoons, I take a nap with my wife, and then in the evenings, I head into the village with my buddies, we drink wine, we sing and we dance the night away. The businessman had a suggestion for the fisherman. He said, well, I know how you can make your life better. I think that you should spend more time out at sea, catching more fish. The fisherman asked, well, then what? He said, well, then you'll have more money and you'll be able to buy a bigger boat. And the fisherman asked, well, and after that? He said, well, after that, you'll have so much money, you'll be able to move to the city and live in a big house, and you'll be rich. And the fisherman said, and after that? And the businessman replied, well, finally, you'll be able to retire. You can move to a beautiful fishing village where you can catch a few fish in the morning, you can spend time with your family, you can have a nap with your wife, and in the evenings you can go to the village with your buddies and drink wine and dance the night away. The fisherman was puzzled. But isn't that what I'm doing right now? As you can see from the story, we never seem to be happy and satisfied with what we've got. We are always looking to the future, and we are always looking for more. In doing this, we fail to realize that the same outcome we were in search of in the first place is possible today. And this is all true if we just decide to focus on what matters to us now and not in 10 years' time. When we stop chasing the world's definition of happiness, we start to recognize that the decision to experience happiness has been right in front of us all along. I'd like to share with you 5 points that have kept me mindful in making this mental shift. 1. Inside, not out. The first step is realizing and accepting that happiness does not come from outside. We need to stop looking to money, cars, fame, and success, and we need to start looking within. People spend their lives trying to find happiness, trying to turn it into something tangible. But for what? Happiness cannot be found, but rather it is a state of being. As our society, we try so hard to turn it into something tangible. We have celebrities showing us how amazing their lives are and how amazing our lives can be. We get dragged into making investments into things with the promise of happiness. But for what reason? We need to realize that happiness is nowhere to be found because it exists within you already. And for the most part, it will come and go in an unpredictable manner. 2. Forget 24/7. What sets different emotions apart is our desire for them. All of us desire to be happy. However, we may have less of a desire to be sad or upset. Just as we realize that it is okay to be sad some, but not all of the time, we need to realize that the same is true for happiness. Of course, it is wonderful to be happy, and we all really want to be happy, but it is unrealistic to believe that we can be happy all of the time. Avoiding what challenges you isn't going to make you any happier. If we believe that we can be happy all of the time, we create an unrealistic expectation that is only going to leave us feeling disappointed. We need to realize that not everything in life worth doing is going to evoke feelings of happiness, and that these other moments are going to teach you about yourself and life that you never imagined. If I think about my own life, for example, there have definitely been times where happiness has not been the dominant state. For example, completing my BCom at Stellenbosch. Now don't get me wrong, I loved my 3 years at Stellies, but there were definitely moments where I really did question my decision. For example, in first year, my entire family went away on a holiday, but I was left in freezing cold Stellenbosch to complete economics winter school. Definitely not one of my happiest moments. But was it all worth it? Most definitely. I learned so much about myself and life, and I would not have done it any other way. To this day, when I think about my graduation day, a huge smile still creeps onto my face. 3, a byproduct. Happiness is a byproduct of doing things that are challenging, meaningful, beautiful, and worthwhile. It is when you are living well that you will be happy. It is a byproduct of a life that fits and inspires you. In order to be happy, we need to do what life requires. We need to struggle, we need to fail, and we need to get through the tough times, because when you stand up again, you will appreciate happiness so much more. 4, it is not a guide. The key to happiness is not to let it guide you. We live in a world where happiness is all around us and has become a guide to our society. Happiness is the reason we get married to live happily ever after, but it is also the reason we get divorced, because we know we deserve to be happier. It is the reason some of us quit the rat race to pursue something we are more passionate about, but it is also the reason some of us stay trapped in the race because we want that bigger house or that bigger car. Happiness has now become the filter to all our decisions. It is no longer about what is right and wrong, but rather what is going to make me happiest. As soon as we start basing our choices on happiness, we tend to look at short-term satisfaction, which is only going to lead us to temporary happiness. And the issue isn't that we need a guide, because this is nothing new to us. As children, we looked up to our parents for guidance, and now as adults, we look to leaders. The issue rather is who or what is guiding us. And we need to find a guide that is more meaningful and that creates reason to be happy. We should not base our guide on a feeling, because as we all know, feelings don't last forever. And finally, just stop and be. So many of us get caught up in doing what we think and believe will make us happy. Doing this degree, having this job, being in this relationship. And while all these things are so important and vital to life, it is not everything. True happiness is about being and not doing. And there is a reason that we are called human beings and not human doings. And yes, while doing will bring you moments of joy, will it actually bring you the long-lasting happiness that being will bring? If you just allow yourself to be in the moment and focus on being, you will be a lot happier, I promise you. Try it. Just be still. Be present. To end off, I would like to share a quote with you that I recently read in an article titled 25 Uncomfortable Things You Need to Do If You Don't Want to Regret Your 20s. Learn to be happy, here, now, today. If you do not learn how to be happy in the present, no job, no partner, no success, no trip, no money, nothing that you are working for will be as enjoyable as you think. You cannot save up your happiness to be released when you think you deserve it. You either have it now or you have it never. So stop trying to tick off your priorities list, because happiness is not waiting for you at the bottom. It is at the top, and it is not going anywhere. It is your choice whether it comes along for the ride or not. So stop chasing happiness. You'll be happy you did. Thank you.